My Hero Academia Chapter 387 is finally out, and with it, sweet mother of Deku and all that is holy, does this chapter go hard. I'm talking rock hard. So hard even Kirishima is gonna start getting jealous. Wait, that sounded wrong. But regardless, if you're a fan of Dabi, Endeavor, and the rest of the Todorokis, then this chapter is most certainly for you. But before we begin, don't forget to Detroit smash that subscribe button to keep up with all the Lunchtime Crew / My Hero content. And now, without further ado, let's jump right into My Hero Academia Chapter 387, titled Congealed. This chapter opens up in a prison where we see MLA member and Ice Quirk wielder Getten alongside original League of Villains member Mr. Compress in their cells conversing amongst one another. In this conversation, Getten informs Compress that he is actually a descendant of the Himura family bloodline, which, in case you were wondering, is the same family bloodline as Shoto's mother, Rei Todoroki, formerly Rei Himura. So Getten officially reveals that he and Rei are indeed relatives, although it is very much implied that they are distant relatives, as Getten explains that the Himura family was a very proud and powerful family, but it contained many different lineages. However, as time progressed and the age of quirks started to advance, the Himura family slowly began to lose their status and power. This downfall was only accelerated by the fact that the Himura family refused to taint their family bloodline by having children with outsiders. So often the Himuras would marry distant relatives to keep their family pure. Mr. Compress notes that Spinner mentioned this act of family pedigree and quirk discrimination before, stating families not wanting their descendants to be seen as different or just wanting to make sure their kids have similar strong quirks would often do the very same. So with this small pool of procreation and the age of quirks progressing, the Himura family line declined quickly and almost went extinct. This rapid decline inevitably led the main family of Himuras to get so desperate that they would consider contaminating the bloodline, but for a cost. So they started to sell their offspring in arranged marriages, which is exactly what happened to Rei. However, unfortunately for those not born into the main Himura family, life wasn't so sweet, and they started to dwindle away until there was almost none left, with Getten stating that he personally survived because he was taken in and raised by Redestro, which really explains why he was so loyal to Redestro and his cause. Getten then ends this tall tale to Compress by claiming that with the passing of generations, quirks have become more complex, and in some cases, even the user themselves are not fully aware of their genetics or the full extent of their power. Foreshadowing. And once he finishes talking, he asks Mr. Compress to tell his life story since they both have all the time in the world. But unfortunately for Compress, for us the story cuts away and back over to the fiery fight of Endeavor and Dabi, where we see that this father-son duo are now 800 meters away from Gunga. Endeavor, while looking on at the massive heat ball that is Dabi approaching, gets informed through the comms about Dabi's imminent explosion, and he realizes that if Dabi explodes, not only will he take out all the civilians underground, but also all of the heroes still fighting the army of Twice clones. This includes Jiro, Froppy, and Uraraka. Endeavor also notes that he's still extremely hurt after his fight with All For One, you know, with him missing an arm and all, but Dabi doesn't care, as mere seconds after thinking this, what only can be described as the horrifically cremated remains of what once was Toya Todoroki rushes towards Endeavor screaming, "Look at me, Dad." I mean, just look at this, like, holy crap, Dabi is looking demonic as all hell, and crispier than the crispiest Rice Krispie. Although Endeavor, in seeing this monstrosity, still can't look past his son, and instead visualizes Dabi as a young Toya just showing off his power. But this fake reality is quickly destroyed destroyed, as Dabi unleashes a massive giant flaming fist attack that Endeavor narrowly avoids, causing the ground near them to erupt in pillars of intense flames. Endeavor, still just trying to reach his son, begs Dabi to just put out his flames. But as it turns out, Endeavor wasn't the only one hallucinating, as instead of giving any real reply, Dabi just repeatedly calls out, "Look at me," and more interestingly, "Let's play Natsu," revealing that Dabi has in fact completely lost his mind. No longer able to think or communicate, only able to destroy. Endeavor, realizing this, begins to question how his son is able to survive this long while producing ungodly levels of heat. And as Dabi rushes in on Endeavor and Endeavor places his hand on his son's chest, he finally comes to the horrific realization of how Dabi has survived so long with these flames. Endeavor explains that in the world of quirks, two types of phenomena can occur when a person is close to death and pushing beyond their limits. They can either awaken an already existing ability, like what happened to Bakugo in the previous war and what happened to Toga against the MLA, or they can develop a brand new type of ability. And the latter is what's happening to Toya, as it's revealed that ice is coming out of the center of Toya's chest. That's right, Dabi has awakened his dormant ice quirk. Holy Toya actually possesses a version of half cold, half hot. I don't know what to say. Dabi has an ice quirk like Rei and Shoto. Endeavor was wrong. Toya was exactly the child Endeavor was looking for, and Endeavor threw him aside. This has so many implications and ironic twists that my mind feels like it's about to explode. And I'm not the only one, as in realizing this, Endeavor's whole life and all the decisions he made to get to this point begins to flash before his eyes. And he thinks about how all of this, everything that led to this moment, is all his fault. And with this knowledge, he ultimately decides that he will no longer keep his promise of living to pay for what he has done. Endeavor then grabs onto the burning remnants of Dabi, his son Toya, and proclaims that he now understands that there is nothing that can save him now. And he knows that his son is only in this situation because he failed to take care of him as a father. So, Endeavor announces that he will not let anyone else get involved in his mistakes, but he will also not let his son die alone. Endeavor, burning at the mere touch of his son, uses their combined heat to propel both him and Dabi as high into the sky as possible, away from the rest of the civilians and to their demise. And as the two rocket into the sky and Endeavor begins to lose consciousness, so comes the end of Endeavor, the #1 hero. Or at least it would have been if not for Rei Todoroki, who uses her ice quirk to shoot up beside the two, and she starts to use her ice on Dabi. It just keeps getting better! And that's it for chapter 387. Let me know what you thought of this chapter. If you like this video, don't forget to leave a like. For more My Hero content, subscribe to the Lunchtime crew. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Plus Ultra.